Hello! I recorded an entire video before this one, but I threw it away because it wasn't what I wanted it to be. Also, slightly different format than I've ever done before. I've got my little VTuber up. She's actually in the center of the frame for once instead of at the bottom for stream. And then we've got my vending machine empire in the background. And I'm just realizing now that you can't really see the vending machines clearly in the background. That's fine. They're not important. What we're here to talk about today is that I haven't been doing great mentally, and that has made it hard to be on YouTube. Hard to do anything, really. So after taking several weeks to do nothing at all, I tried to make a video talking about how I was doing and where I've been. Because, I've been putting edited Twitch VODs up here on the channel, which I like. I'm going to continue doing that for things that have like a story to follow, not just for everything, most likely. But I haven't done like a, face-to-face in big quotes YouTube video in a while, and I wanted to explain why that was. But after recording the entire video, I realized it was just me wallowing in my guilt. Help. I forgot this game is actually a game. Oh, I can hire staff now. That's fun. Okay. Back to the video. This is going well. So I made that whole video, realized I was just like justifying basically. I was apologizing and justifying and feeling guilty. I was feeling guilty about not making the kinds of videos that I usually make, and about not doing as much game dev as I usually do, and about not creating things on a schedule even though I made up the schedule myself. And guilt is not really the vibe I want for this channel, and I don't think it's what you want either. So instead, I'm looking towards the future. I'm going to do what I always do when I feel lost and reconfigure my entire Notion workspace. Being serious for a moment, I'm doing okay. You don't need to worry about me, but I am still trying to find what works. I'm not like brimming with energy, ready to take on the world. But after not doing much of anything for a few weeks, I am excited to play around in Notion. I'm excited to set some goals, and I'm ready to do something. So let's do something. So I started off this endeavor by watching one of those huge Thomas Frank videos about task systems. I might have even watched 2 or 3. But I already had most of this system done, and then I just sort of took things from those videos and reworked them. For one thing, I'm embracing lists for the first time ever. I've never really been a huge fan of lists in Notion. I find that stuff is too spread out across the screen, usually for my liking, and I like the tables, how they're nice and like even, but I also kind of just like the idea of it appearing like a to-do list. So we'll see how this works. I've also, as you can see, not used the checkboxes, which kind of take away from the to-do list appearance. Oh, I can always change this. I can change any of this at any moment. So I took some ideas from Thomas Frank. I worked them into the system that I had built, I think at the beginning of the year or perhaps in December. And this is what we got. And I finally made the leap after they introduced charts and I got like pro Notion. So some of these features are paid. For example, on the free plan, you can have one chart. I've got a couple on here. I will say, in hindsight, just having charts available is probably not worth the subscription fee. I've also added some of the automations that they offer with the pro version, which might be worth it. I don't know. It kind of depends on your situation, but basically, I just want to point out you are going to see some paid features, but I've used Notion for free for many years and it was excellent, so I don't think you need to buy it to get the value out of it. But here's the Notion workspace. What we're going to do is we're going to go over how the system works, how I'm hoping to use it, and then I'm going to go through specifically some of the things I'm going to be focusing on, because, I just think it's fun to talk about your goals, but also it'll dip into what I'm planning to do for YouTube. Kind of a life update video in like the way that I would do a life update by looking through Notion. But here at the top, we have this whole list here is pretty much pulled right from Thomas Frank's like task, what was it called? A task list you'll actually use or something like that. But we got the inbox here. I've never really had an inbox like this. The idea is that when you have a thought of a task you want to do, you put it in the inbox and it stays here until you assign it to a project, give it a due date, sort of process it. So in theory, this should help with things that come in the middle of when I'm trying to work on tasks and not when I'm planning them. And so I'll have a space to drop things like that. We got today. I actually did my yard work. I did not want to do it. I went out and I did it. So I'm going to check this to done. And the neat thing that I'll talk about very briefly is that I've got an automation that will handle recurring tasks like that. I've also got on here, you can see these have little arrowy repeat icons. I've got my stretching, foam rolling, steps, supplements, food tracking, and drinking water. And then I got to do the next Uncle Chops video. These videos take so long to edit, but I feel like they're pretty good once I get through it. It's the one thing, these long game VODs, that has me considering hiring an editor, but that's like a whole can of worms. My creative business is not bringing in the money that it would cost to pay an editor, so I would have to fund that out of my pocket, which is not super full these days. But yeah, that's a question I'll need to ask myself if I want to buy back some of my time, because it is quite a bit of time. But yeah, pretty chill day today. I wanted to keep things low key because I'm gonna really dig into some of my projects starting on Monday. We have a calendar view of the week. I love these. I love this week view. I was so happy when they added it to Notion. I've got it clicked over to next week, but this is what I just set all this up yesterday, so it's not really filled in before today, but we got these. And then, of course, the repeating tasks do not show up in advance. And also, I have it filtered. I have it filtered currently. We could do this, but the repeating tasks don't show up until they actually are set to the next day, so it's going to be kind of sparse here. That's all right, though. I just really love seeing everything laid out. The big stuff will be scheduled out in advance because it's not recurring. And we got some other things like upcoming cleaning tasks that I would like to do. And it's just a nice way to get an overview of my week. I also didn't realize I don't have anything scheduled for Friday. Maybe I should put something there, or maybe I should just have it as a rest day. We got all the things that are scheduled, and this is a lot of stuff. I should filter this. I should filter this by something. Due date is on or before a month from now. How's that? Is that better? I think it's slightly better. I don't like these views to get too big. It gets overwhelming. We have things without a due date. I don't have any of those. By project, I did filter this one, I think also to a month from now, just to keep it from being too long. And then I have a list of all the weekly tasks. So we have today, and then we have this week. And this one is so I can kind of get an idea of what is coming up. But this is where it's going to be most of the time, so I can really focus in on what I'm doing each day. We'll come back to the blocks in a moment. Next, we have our little project board. I love this little board. I don't know when they made these cards like cute and round like this. I'm sure they weren't always like that, and I can go back and look because I've been using Notion for so long. I've made so many videos about it. I can go back and look at when the last time I used a board like this was, but they're so cute now. And I like this because it gives me a little view of where things are at. So I've got one idea project that is not scheduled. I haven't put any tasks in here. And then I have a couple that I do have tasks for. And this formula is one that I developed after learning some stuff from Red Gregory, who I don't think has done any Notion content in a while, but all the stuff that they've done in the past is still pretty useful. But it's a percentage through a date range. And I use it in a couple of places, but I like to use it basically to tell, so like I'm 14% through this date range, which I can't see. I also configured the page layout for the first time. Never really did that before, but we got, this goes from June 16th to July 31st, so we're 14% of the way through it. In theory, with the task progress should also be about 14% of the way done. So you can compare to see if you're behind schedule. I am behind schedule on these, but I'm working on it. And also some of them were done before I put the tasks in here, so that's fine too. But I really like to have this so I can compare, like, oh, I'm a little bit behind, I'm a lot behind, I'm a little ahead sometimes. That happens too. But that's a nice view. And then we also have just a list of active projects with the categories here. We have planned. I might actually tweak this one because I can't see a use for it exactly, but we're not that worried about that right now. The board view, and then we can see any archived projects here. I haven't archived any yet because I just made this. Over here, we just have some silly little pie graphs, or I guess they're donut graphs because they have the hole in the middle. The tasks and their statuses, and then we have the tasks and their priorities. This one I think is filtered to a month, and then this one is filtered to the week. And then I've got complete tasks on a chart here, and this actually uses a new database that I've added called Task History. Every time I complete a task, an automation creates a record here of whether it was complete or not. So these could be closed or failed, and that changes depending on how I've completed the task or not. But in the long run, I will have a little chart of the status of everything that I've completed or closed. I really wanted this to be like a cumulative flow diagram, but the way that Notion works is that you really need to maintain a separate set of values for things that are based on date like this. Like, it doesn't just keep track of, oh, it was in this state on this day, and then it changed state, and now it's on this state. So you can't do a graph like that super easily, but with the task history, we can at least get the number of tasks completed on these particular days. Okay, and then back to the plan blocks. So this is a thing that was not part of any of Thomas Frank's stuff. I devised this during my initial setup of this Notion space, and then I adjusted it a little bit this time around. But basically this is inspired by the 12-week year, where you have these portions of time. I'm calling them plan blocks. I've called them like time blocks, or what I've called them a couple of different things in the past, but basically it's a span of time that can also have projects and tasks assigned to it, and it keeps track of its own progress for those tasks, separate from like the project or the month or the year or things like that. So I have this one, which is the last week of quarter 2, June 23rd to June 29th. So that's coming up next week. I could put in here a focus. I've only been really doing it for the quarters, if you can see in the background here. And my push for progress is a series of habits that I want to do for the next 6 months. Little daily things like getting my steps, doing 10 minutes of game dev, things like that. We got the pigeon game on here, and then health routines is the third focus. So that's my focus for quarter 3. Anyway, back to this here. And this was the part of the build that really frustrated me. No matter what I did, I couldn't figure out how to automatically add tasks that based on this date. So I tried a database button on the task, which has an option to add things to the plan block field. The only thing is I could not for the life of me figure out how to filter the whole like plan block database and then add it to a relation property. It seemed like the variables in the custom formulas for Notion's buttons and database buttons would only work on things that were already added to the field. Like, I could take the values in the field and filter those, but unless I add all the blocks to every task and then do it, it wouldn't work because it didn't have access to that larger set. So I don't know if anyone knows how to do that. If you do, I would love to hear it. My compromise was to add a button in the template for the plan block, and basically when I make this page, I go in here and I manually set these dates to filter, and then that works. So if I press this, oh, it did actually add some. I think I filled in some tasks and forgot to press the button, but the idea is that I make all my tasks, I set the due date, and then I press this button on each of the blocks and it will add in the tasks that it needs. But there we go. So there we are. I've got a little organization project for the house, cleaning. These are pretty much all recurring tasks. Figuring out a budget for, I'm hoping to like renovate my office a little bit. Nothing like, I'm not tearing any walls down or anything. I want to get a desk set up that I can stand at. I've wanted this for a while since my standing desk converter broke. But I need to figure out a budget and a saving plan for that. Project Get Jacked is still going, or it stopped and then it started again. Get these Uncle Chops videos out. And then this video, I'm calling it the Getting Back on Track video. We'll see what I actually end up titling it. I know all the pro YouTubers come up with their title and their hook at the beginning, but this is obviously not the vibe here. So these are all things that are attached to this first week of the block, and as I finish them, this progress will update. And if I did my formulas right, which I think I did, I tested them a bit, it should also count individual occurrences of the recurring tasks. The only thing is it doesn't have access to the total number of recurrences that will happen in this time block. So as I check them off and it generates that additional due date, it will start to increase like the total amount of tasks. But for the most part, this should be close to an accurate view of how things are going for this goal. So I've got that one. I've got week 1 of quarter 3. I didn't put a task view on this one, but if I click that, there were 7 that were missing. That's fine. And then this one is the entire quarter. Ooh, I don't know if I wanted to edit so many, but here we are. Let's see, I can add a task view, whoops, and then we will filter it to plan block. This one? Okay, that's quite a lot of them. Okay, that actually does look correct, so there we are. Now, one thing that I set up but have not filled in is this idea of KPIs and KPI goals. So I've got these KPI values where they have a category, they have units, they can either be tracked by summing the entries or by taking the last entry. This is for things like YouTube subscribers. I just update the total and the most recent value is the final one. This one I would do like, say I get one shop sale and then I get another one. I would increment them like that instead of doing it like this. So hope that makes sense. But this is the definition for the value. I have a button to add an entry. That puts a record into this, which just has an amount and a date. And then I have goals. And this is something that I've done in the past. Done a lot of this stuff in the past and in various ways. I'm always refining, but this basically connects to a value. It connects to a plan block, which it uses for the start and end date. So these goals are always going to be attached to a block because they're going to kind of be the measurement for my effort during that block, if that makes sense. And it's a very 12-week year where you have your metrics. You score your lead indicators and your lag indicators to figure out how much ever you're putting in and how much result you're getting back out. Because I don't want to get too deep into it here, but you can't really control a lot of things that people want to earn. So you can't control how many sales you get. You can't control how many views you get. But what you can do is measure it and try to use that to figure out if the things you're putting into the system are getting you closer to a goal that you would like. And so this is a sort of a way to connect all that together. And it does do a cute little ASCII chart graph thing to show the progress, because it's the only way, as far as I can tell, to get multiple progress bars like this into one field. So I've got this goal display, and I would like all of the goals to have progress bars in there. But I don't think there's a way to do that in Notion currently, or if there is, it's like not formatted how I would like. So instead I use the old Notion ASCII progress bars for these, which you can find a formula to do that basically everywhere. Everyone loves those things. But that piece, you can see I haven't set any goals, I haven't set up any KPIs, haven't done anything. So I'm going to do that after. So once I did all that tinkering, or at least most of the tinkering, I started filling in my projects and my tasks. And as always, I recommend you do this as well. Before getting to Notion, do like a brainstorm. Write down what you're thinking about. Try to forecast, this thing's going to take this long, and estimate out what you want to do so that when you get to Notion, you're not just putting in every single thing you can think of, because that's how you don't get anything done. That's how you get overwhelmed. And even now, I feel like I'm being pretty ambitious with this one, but let's go through it here. So, is this in any sort of order? I don't think it is. Let me do due dates ascending. So I'll talk about some of these, but some of them I'm not really working on until later. So like, I want to do a shop update where I make a little handful of designs, including the capybara conspiracy design that I've had in mind for literally like 2 years. And then I have things like doing prints, product photos, etc. But this I don't want to do until August or September. So it's on the list, but I'm not working on it quite yet. Christmas knitting. Again, not starting on this just yet, but the tasks are in here. It's on my radar. Dead Letter Department VODs. I really, really like Dead Letter Department. It was so good. And I think I can get all the endings that I achieved into one, long but watchable video. And I would like to do that. So I've got a couple of different streams to edit together. And this is going to go in after the Uncle Chops run is done being uploaded. So there's that one. I really need to get a handle on our downstairs, our living room area. We just don't use it. And I think it's because there's a lot of clutter, or we've got some like old furniture that we need to get rid of that is just taking up space down there. It's not terribly usable. I still haven't hung up the paintings that I took down when I painted in 2021. So a couple of things to do downstairs to just make it a little bit more homey. I've got my recurring cleaning tasks. I tried to go through and come up with like the lowest number of cleaning tasks I could do to just sort of maintain the house. And then on top of it, I made the recurring intervals like basically as long as I thought I could go without it getting absurd. And so hopefully the cleaning, it's a long list here, but hopefully it won't be too overwhelming in practice. I've been playing Oblivion. That's another story-based game that could be good for like a VOD series. Trying to figure out if I want to do that because it's going to be, I'm up to like 50 hours almost already. And I'm not done yet, obviously. So I don't know if I want to do this, but I have a task to plan it out. Here's that office renovation I mentioned. Just some things on here to do later in the year. And a lot of these things I've decided, like I've pretty much decided what desk I want. I just need the money for it. Same thing with the chair. And I will need to figure out some of this storage stuff. Next, Project Get Jacked. Just a lot of health related, like recurring tasks, workouts on here. Shooting for 2 runs, 2 strength each week. That'll repeat weekly. So this is kind of the tentative schedule right now. Try to get the old fitness goals back on track. And then here's the very many Uncle Chops stream VODs that I have to edit down. I'm really hoping that some of these I'll be able to combine. Like, because I have a lot of dead time in some of the videos where I'm trying to solve the puzzles in the game. And if I'm not actually making progress on the puzzle, and I'm just sort of looking at the information, maybe I'm writing things down, I don't want to keep all that dead time in the video, so I'm hoping that some of these I can combine So there's not quite so many videos to deal with. But, you know, at the end of the day, I am gonna have to go through the video, even just at double speed, and like edit it down. So no matter how I cut this, it's gonna take quite a bit of time. So I might also go through and just look at if there's any like round one segments that nothing really interesting happens in, just cut that out entirely. Because at this point in the run, we're consistently getting past Rent 1 easily, but it does take time. So all these things I have to consider so that I'm not spending the rest of my life editing Uncle Chop's videos. But you know what? It's a good game. I actually don't really mind that much, like rewatching my playthrough of it, because it's so good. Anyway, moving on. This is my tentative plan for, like, I put scripted on here. That's what they are. They're scripted videos. They're planned videos. You know, I decide what I want to do and say in them beforehand most of the time. But we got this one talking about getting back on track with YouTube and with other things. I want to talk about my pigeon game finally after all this time. I've been working on it for months at this point, and it's coming along, and I want to talk about it. I have no idea if there's going to be a played up update for the anniversary this year, but it's happening in August, so we'll see if they do a big update. Maybe they won't. Maybe they're getting tired. That's fine too. But I just put a little question mark. Maybe a check-in for my habit goal thing. And then I need to plan out some more scripted videos for quarter 4. So as you can see, we're not like fully back on the game dev YouTube grind, and I'm not really sure what I want to do here. And I talked at length about this in the previous video that I recorded and then threw away, and I don't fully remember off the top of my head what I talked about, but we've been here before in this place with this channel where I struggle sometimes to really know what it is that you guys like, what you're here for, what I'm here for. And so it might be time to get back into like a little bit of experimentation and trying some different kinds of videos. I've been really interested in getting into animation a bit, so I might do something with that. I might go back to doing some more like laid back vlogs. But there's also like a couple of like technique things that I would like to figure out, like with Godot, how to do certain things. So I might still do some more like technical game dev videos, but what I'm trying to say is that I don't fully know what I'm going to be doing going forward, but I'm gonna try and make it entertaining, and I'm gonna try and make it consistent. But there we are, a nice Notion rebuild to get my life back on track. I probably won't publish this one as a template. I don't think anyone grabbed the last Notion template that I put up, so I don't think there's a lot of demand for that. And there is like a bit of work, like I have to make like a help page basically to make it usable for other people. So unless there's a clamoring for it, I probably will keep this one to myself. But there we are. So just to recap, what you can expect from me, where you can find me. I am still streaming on Twitch. You can find me there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, pretty consistently. It's 7 p.m. Pacific. Here, I'm going to be focusing on getting these Uncle Chop VODs out. If you are interested in Uncle Chop's Rocket Shop, or if you just want to chill with a fun, weird little game, I would be very appreciative if you would check out that playthrough. I'm very proud of it. It was a lot of fun for me. But I'm also going to be experimenting a bit here on YouTube, so I'm not totally sure what you'll see, but I'm going to do my best to make it entertaining, and I hope you'll stick around. With all that said, I will be back soon with another video, and I hope to see you there. Alright, bye-bye.